Yo,
Brosy,
how's it?
you good, man?
Are you good?
Awesome.
Are you good? 'Cause just now you were drowsy, you were tired, you were like,
Just now I was
today,
on
unprepared speech.
Today I was exhausted, but look, life goes on, man.
Yeah, a man's gotta do what a
A
man's
man's
gotta
gotta do what a man's gotta do.
Mm.
Look, man, yes, again another installation
do.
of
Yo, bro, episode
Generation Great. Still surprised.
5. We're still here.
Still here.
One thing
Each and
about
every-
us
one thing
lately,
about us lately, we're very
we
consistent.
are so consistent. I'm shocked.
Yeah, man.
Episode number 5.
Dog.
Do we have that depth? Are we that intelligent?
I don't know. Yeah, man. You know, housekeeping rules.
Yep.
You know,
First
firstly,
things
before
first.
we get deep into what we're going to talk about today,
Mm.
I think we'll just have to start off by aligning ourselves, aligning our chakras.
Our weekly mantras.
Weekly mantras.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts this week? What were your mantras? What
Okay.
is it that you were meditating on?
Yeah. So this week, I saw this quote by Alex Hormozy. So it says, people underestimate the volume required to become successful.
Sure.
And that hit me. We underestimate the amount of work we have to put in before we get the results that we desire.
Sure. Ooh.
So when I think about that, and it's true,
Sure.
you might think that you have to study, for example, 5 hours. What if you have to study 6 for the whole
Sure.
week, to pass the test? I've been training for like 6-7 years now.
Sure.
I'm still not happy with my body.
Yeah.
And that's repetitions, right?
Sure.
That's the amount of work. So even when you do obtain the thing, there's still more work to be done, So
yeah,
it doesn't go for gym only. It goes for everything. The
Sure.
sale, maybe you think you might have to do like 10 sales, 10 phone calls to get one sale.
Sure.
What if you need 100? You
Actually.
might think you need to go on 2 dates to find your soulmate. What if you need to go to 10 or
10?
20?
Yeah.
So everything requires volume.
Yeah.
It's just life is nothing. Even us with our. What if we have to do
Yeah,
100 episodes before we get like 100 followers or
Sure.
1,000 followers? So
Yeah.
everything is volume. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about that a lot, and it's actually true.
Sure.
The more you do the thing, the better you become at the thing. So don't give up. So Tina, the ends are like 2, 3, and then you're like,
give up.
So yeah, I was thinking
man,
about
that's
that.
very
What about
powerful.
you?
That's very powerful. Because I think you touched on something that we spoke about yesterday with my brother. It was we sort of underestimate the value of like continuing, like consistency, and like one small, it's what we always say, one small drop in the, you think like you need, for you to build a mountain, you need just one stone, one stone, and for me, it's been a very hectic week. But I think this week, one thing that I sort of struggled with was planning, and I realized it's so important to plan because it also, because look, your mind works like a GPS, right? So if you're planning to go to, let's say, Wamloi, or you're planning to go to Terminus, right? Okay, for those who don't know, Wamloi is just,
and you just twanged it, Guamaloi.
It's just here. If you're planning to go there, you firstly have to determine where you're going and know, okay, this is where I'm going, Gagamloi. And then the second thing is, how am I going to get there? And you might think that's just a very minor task, planning. But I think it prepares you for the route. It prepares you for giving yourself time to get to that place.
So you're being intentional about it.
You're being intentional about it, to say, look, I know where I'm going, but I just need to know how to do it.
Exactly.
And I think that's what planning does for us, that it gives us a sense of purpose. It gives us a sense of destination to where we actually want to go. Because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Right?
That's true.
So yeah, man, I think I was actually meditating on that I need to actually plan
better.
Plan better. Not just to execute, but also just to plan better. Because then I need to know what I'm planning.
You have like a direction. You're not basically like an aimless error.
Shooting all over the
place. Shooting all over.
Shooting all over. So I just need to plan properly.
Okay. No,
but anyway, I think
good.
that's what I was actually sort of struggling with this week. But I sort of got to understand. No, look, I need to actually plan better. Yeah.
Okay, that's dope.
Yeah, man. I think this week the topic that we're gonna discuss is quite touchy.
Yeah.
It's a bit touchy. Not because I think because a lot of people don't want to talk about it.
Yep.
But we all are thinking about it. Like it's like that elephant in the room. You're like,
it's there. But
do I want to talk about it? Do I not want to?
But also, when we do address it, we don't address it in good ways because we loot, we do all these bad things. There's xenophobia and whatnot. I may have just given away the topic, but so there's this quote that I read this week. It says, what did it say? It says, unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. So we don't talk about it, and we therefore resent these people because we don't say what we expect from them. And
you also assume you should know.
Exactly.
Which is like it defeats the whole purpose of communication, because communication is like, I need to tell you.
Okay, let's introduce the topic.
Yeah, so the topic basically is, are foreign nationals occupying the same jobs that are meant for South Africans, or like are they occupying the spaces that are meant to be taken by South African citizens? All right. I don't know. Do you want to go first, or should I just give you my opinion?
Okay, just
get us cancelled.
Give me let's get cancelled quickly.
For me, it's really an issue of, I see the foreign part, but for me, it's an issue of documentation, in a sense that, and we'll also get to the labor part and the economic part of it. But it's like, for me, the scariest thing is being around someone who's not documented. Like, because then everything in South Africa requires documentation. Your SARS papers, there has to be documents. You have to have an ID. For you to be employed, you need to have a valid ID document. You need to have a SARS certificate. You need to have certain things. You need to have insurance. You need to have medical aid, and all these other things. You just need to be documented. You just need to be documented.
So people are able to identify you when something happens.
Right? And the issue of documentation touches on a lot of other things, because even with medical care, there's quite a lot of foreigners. There's quite a lot of foreigners in all other hospitals, in spaces where Black South African citizens are unable to go there. I'm not saying healthcare should not be offered to foreigners, but I'm saying, look, if the state has given us a certain budget which is allocated to cater for South Africans, and there's someone who's undocumented, right?
Taking away from someone.
Look at it this way: if ever Guinea uphagiwe and whatever kwabala ama-PSI 5, and then there's an additional friend who's gonna come unannounced, right? And like, two friends who are gonna come unannounced, and then they come and share that, because there's obviously that spirit of Ubuntu, which we must share whatever we have.
But man, there's an abuse of that also. That's the problem. There's an abuse of that Ubuntu base,
right? Because then, how then do you share from a place of lack? Because if I'm lacking resources, or I'm lacking the facilities or the resources, level of provision that should be allocated to me, then I have to share it with someone who's undocumented, who came here because illegally, right? And I understand the situation of, there are also things that are happening in their countries and stuff like that. And my heart goes out to whoever is affected. But I'm saying, let's do it the right way. Let's get documentation. Let's get permits. Let's get all these necessary documentation that are legal, that allows you to be here. So yeah, I think that's it for now.
Okay.
I think for me it was pretty much documentation. Yeah.
So my thing with this topic more than anything is, I was thinking about this week. So let's just look at South Africa as like a house, right? South Africa is a corner house, for example, right?
Sure.
It previously had a white owner, right?
Sure.
And back then, when South Africa had this white owner, there was law, there was rules, and there were tenants, right?
Sure.
And then these tenants were different, they were whites, all types, and other tenants were treated better than others, right? So I'm basically taking you through the history of South Africa to understand how we got here. Right?
Sure.
So now, what happened is that there's certain tenants that were treated worse than others, and the tenants that got treated worse than others had to go to other tenants, to other houses for refugee and for,
Sure.
for safety reasons, because they were rebellious against the white owner.
Yeah.
So the white owner. So now what's happening is the white owner sold the house. But because there's valuable things in the house, he was like, no, I'm just going to give you enough just to be free. But and he gave the key to
I'm going to give you possession, not ownership.
Position, not ownership. Yeah.
Sure.
Position, not ownership.
Yeah.
And then that's when we black people became the new house owners. And then we were like, you know what, since Valley we suffered, everyone can pull up, and then because you helped us, and then one neighbor came in and was like, can I have the corner, because I helped you during your difficult time. And you're like, you know what, it's chill.
I see where this analogy is going. Yeah.
And you're like, no, it's chill, you can chill, because now ibongilethela ushukela ungisiza nami mabangishaga kakhulu i-house owner yethu mayisishaga kakhulu.
Sure.
And then that was the first guy. After that, more and more guys started coming in, right? And then manje, so it's us, right? The apparently foot is free, because the black owner was like, "Tina's free, manje. We're free, we'll do," But also the problem is when there was law and there was rule, the white owner did not allow anyone to come in. Just everyone had to carry a passport, documentation. It goes back to what you were saying. Everyone needed documentation. So now the problem is the gate is no longer working. Wonke umuntu uyazenzela egeyithini, wonke umuntu uyazingenela, and people are setting base, people are starting ama-business. Lama neighbor lawa wethu beyasiza, so I abuse manje le ndawo le.
They're abusing the privilege of getting access.
Exactly. They're abusing the privilege of getting access to le ndlu le. And not only that, they're using the same line. But ngalesikhathi ngihlupheka. And there's nothing wrong. Fairly, there are real wars that are happening in their countries. We truly and honestly don't have a problem with foreign nationals. We don't. The only problem that we have is the abuse of it. And remember, there was not so long ago, there was a Nigerian who said South Africans are lazy, we come here. And so now they're abusing that now. They're abusing the access. And they're disrespecting South Africans in South Africa. That is where the problem is.
Yeah.
Kuyimo siza wena. When uphuma lapho phayiseka khona you get here and you come, so
that is major disrespect.
That's what's happening. That's what I'm seeing, So that's where my problem is. Ukuthi uzakwami igate fiyede liyahlupha. The gate is not closing. And that's something that the South African government has to fix. But we all know it's by purpose. They want us to fight. They want us to have all these things. So
also, like as you were talking now, and that analogy made so much sense because it's like a simplest form of explaining the problem, and also giving solutions, right? But I think also as a country, whenever people talk about foreign nationals, the bell is like ding, black foreign nationals. We hardly talk about Chinese. We hardly talk about other foreign nationals who are non-African, right? Your white people and people from overseas and stuff like that. Because we do have quite a lot of people who are Pakistani, China, some Indian people who are not documented. And like I said on the previous episode, Uti, a lot of the businesses around Chinatown that are making revenue
are not paying tax.
They're not paying taxes, which is very problematic. One, you're not documented. Two, you're here to use the resources that South Africa has provided for you, and you're not even paying taxes.
And on top of that, you employ your own people. You're not employing South Africans.
You're not employing South Africans, right? And the problem with that is because obviously of how we as black people function, xenophobia will be the first thing we do, because we fight our own African brothers who, like I said, also abuse the system.
Yeah, that's true.
But my real issue is, what about the foreign nationals who are white or who are Chinese? Why are we not saying, if ever there's a situation that we need to fix, let's fix everything else?
Yep, that's true.
And that makes me realize that there's someone who's at the top who's getting money for certain foreign nationals to exist in South Africa. Because obviously maybe there's a business deal that was entered into that we don't know of. Because for me it doesn't make sense.
Why are they pushing brakes?
So much. How are people from China able to occupy such a very busy space in Joburg, and they run their businesses,
and they don't have one China mall? How many China malls? There's multiple. I think 4 or 5.
And the issue of counterfeit as well comes, with African foreigners. Look, like I said, I'm lenient on them. My opinion is a bit biased, but there's a whole lot of crisis around Chinese, bruh, because counterfeit comes from them.
So
Pakistani, all these other people, they bring brands that are not original, and they sell them at a lower price. Right? And they also don't pay tax. For me, it's like you are actually committing fraud, because there's fraud
and there's fraud. But I think with the Chinese, maybe there are deals, there are certain things that were said in certain board meetings that we don't know anything about.
But let's turn a blind eye. Let's look into that, because we can't scream foreign nationals only when it concerns our black brothers, right? And then shy away when it's actually white foreign nationals. Because for me, it screams prejudice. It screams hypocrisy, apartheid. Because even with white businesses, and that's always the case, where when a black person commits fraud, it's like, it's veil. When a white person commits fraud, it's like
it's downplayed.
It's downplayed. Like, look at Steinhoff. That guy who played with people's pension fund and all these billions. And then where's the story there? But speak about Zuma and what Zuma has done.
Everyone
is just like, and that's what I'm saying. There's also a liberation of the mind that needs to happen within our black brothers, where we say, look, the issues that we have, they shouldn't actually be, we shouldn't put a microscope on a certain group of people, because then that means we are not liberated. Our minds are still saying a black man is a criminal, but a white man is criminalish.
But can I counter your argument? I'll say this. That's because our black brothers are the closest to the businesses that we're supposed to be in. The barbers, all barbers now are Usbali. If your barber is not Usbali, it's no longer black South Africans. They're even taking over the taxi industry. Yeah. They're even taking over Paza. Who used to own those businesses back then?
Yeah.
Right. So you look at all those things, like even the hands who do braids.
Sure.
Every business that you think about, who are taking over, and even big companies, they are hiring foreign nationals.
Yeah.
In the jobs that we're supposed to get, because they pay lower and they're willing to give that,
I was actually gonna go there and say, in the hospital space, in the hospital is hospitality.
Yeah.
Okay, not in the hospital. I just said
hospitality.
In the hospitality industry, a lot of these big hotels will hire foreign nationals, maybe like people from Lesotho or Zim, Mozambique, wherever, because they are willing to pay them less, because
and they're willing to accept less.
You're right. And now, which changes the standard for, let's say, for instance, like minimum wage. If foreign nationals are willing to accept with minimum 2.5 is like the minimum wage, right? We as South Africans are like, that's
only 3.5,
we need like 3.5
or 6, whatever.
We can't then counter. Our argument is just like, okay, South Africans are lazy, or South Africans
are entitled
and stuff like that. But we're like, looking at the current conditions that we live under, it's ridiculous to expect someone to make it a decent living with 3.5, especially when transport things are
crazy.
And foreign nationals, because obviously of the fact that things are quite bad wherever they come from, and they're willing to accept anything because it's informal work, or it's informal labor.
It's so not unskilled or semi-skilled or whatever, lower skilled basically.
So whatever they do, they like, look, we'll take anything for us to survive. And therefore that reflects badly on us when we say, look, we don't want to be bound by the standard that these people are coming with. It doesn't make us bad people. It simply says we understand our value and understand the contribution that we make in the South African space, because we still need to pay tax. Everything that we do is taxed, right? Foreign nationals, they're not taxed.
They take money, and they send it to their countries,
right? And is a goobo, because some don't even have bank accounts, right?
Because they're not documented. It goes back to what you were saying.
So so it only makes sense. Even the bank charges, they're not incurring any form of charges when it comes to banks. Tax.
So how are they moving money?
That's the thing. That's the biggest issue in South Africa, is because no one wants to do a study. No one wants to do a study on how money is moved for foreign individuals. I mean, if the president has a lot of money saved, or money is found in a president's compound in dollars, I mean, there's no hope for us.
But instead, guess what? The criminal that wanted that money is the one who's getting arrested, not the president. No one is asking Ramaphosa.
And did you see when they said they went after the maid? Because the maid was also questioned. They're like, no, the maid, there was some.
The president is being protected. We all know it.
But I'm just like, man, that does not make sense to me. It does not make sense to me.
So not only is the gate open, even the president is walking through with.
Even like the president's just like, because
they don't care.
That's what Malema wants to do, is like, why are there borders to South Africa? I'm like, Malema, you don't have enough to sustain your own country, to sustain your own people. There's no valid plan, an economic plan, which allows black people in this space. Where basically everyone is unemployed now. You're saying the borders must not be closed, when the people that are within this region of
already suffering. It doesn't make sense.
And if I would understand if we were living in there was like plenty of resources that we could actually share, right? But we are already struggling sharing whatever we have.
As South Africans in South Africa.
In fact, we're not even sharing whatever we have. There's nothing to share, right?
Because we're not getting, goes back to our previous episode, we're not getting equal opportunity in the economic development of South Africa. We are not participating, rather. So also we have to look, I wanna take, I'm just going to digress a bit and look at all these foreign nationals and how all their business models work. Nigerians, we all know it's drugs and women. We know that's their business, right? Pakistanis, we all know it's
counterfeit, selling things.
We all know it's plaza shops and counterfeit things and
cold drinks that are they by the
and how many cases have we seen where children or people are dying because of these counterfeit things? These are the issues that we should really look at and think about, in as much as we don't want to say our African brothers only because they are black. No, the problem is we are so close to them that's what we see. We see those problems more than we see the Chinese, maybe, because the Chinese don't even live here. If they chilled here, we could see how they move.
They move around.
And again, China and that's it.
Is I'm willing to go to China Mall to buy that counterfeit.
Exactly.
To buy that,
to sell it at a higher
to sell it at a higher rate.
Yeah.
I'm willing to buy whatever they're selling me. With I'm a Pakistani, you're selling me food that is
you just manufactured
not for
there
consumption.
yeah.
Right. And ngiyagula ngiyafa. It's not, there's no consideration. You get it. And like you said, you raise a very important point, Oti. It's because they are within reach.
They are within
it's
reach.
Food, dog. Like consumption is. In fact, ungayithenga imethi ezomosha after 3 days.
Yeah,
right?
you don't mind.
It's not a big deal. But when it comes to consumption and what people are eating,
and you're willing to compromise how many cases have we heard last year of kids dying, from from consuming these, fake brands and whatnot, and people are getting poisoned, So again, I'm going to say it's not that we being xenophobic because they're black. No, they're closer to us. It's things that we can see on a daily. It's things that we can relate to and point out, oh, this is the problem. This is what we see.
Another thing also just to add, there's also a foreign issue that needs to be explored when it comes to Amazamazam.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that are there, and I keep saying this, there's someone who is at the top because they understand the mining industry. They understand how the mining industry could make money that is untaxed. The resources that they get are the resources that are not documented. The resources that are moving at a black market where the people that are responsible get 100% profit share, right? And they don't even have to give back to that community. So you're mining illegally, and then you're selling illegally, and you're getting money illegally. Right?
On top of that, these guys have crazy weapons. Have you seen the weapons they have?
Because remember the issue where
who's buying these people weapons, bro?
Even with drugs, Nigerians don't come here with drugs.
They don't.
But when they get here, there's someone they know who allows them to get to South Africa with drugs. So the issue now,
it's the police. It's the police force.
So now the issue now is not because it's not the gate that is open. It's the people inside here who are powerful, who are willing to actually shoot the gate or leave the gate open.
Leave the gate open.
Right?
Because there's certain benefits to the gate being open to them. Not understanding that it's affecting everyone who's in the yard.
And I always say these issues, the reason why people scream, no, South Africans are lazy. South Africans are not lazy. If you go to varsities, the first people that you see with queue registering to get to universities are black South Africans. You never see white South Africans. The people that are working under the ground in the mining space are black South Africans. The people that you see at the shop who are selling fruits starting, they are black South Africans. The people that are at ShopRite, like you said, the people who are in there, even shops, in Ackermans or Pep and whatnot, it's black South Africans. Abantu abase KFC chicken licking.
South Africans, yeah.
Black South Africans,
we're not lazy.
It's always, my heart was I was so disheartened when I went. I remember there was a point where I was passing by Ngase at the Glen, and there was a sign like on where people. There was a sign that said, "We want people to come." There's employment, right? And the first people that I saw there around Boma 5 were black South Africans. By Okiwala, I could see from Ingosi to Abokogabadal. And maybe there are probably like 5 positions. And when a line about 1,000, there's a line about like 800 rand. 800 people. And that's where the issue comes, Uti. We don't even have enough for us to survive. But why are we then prioritizing foreigners? I mean, and that question really stays in my mind. Is like, there are issues that we need to fix here. It's like you said, in the house, there are plumbing issues. There are issues relating to water. There are issues relating to
electricity. Literally, we literally have a power problem.
Right? Corner like but now
we're expected to be lenient and accommodate other people. And again, we can't give what we don't have. How do you give another person something you don't have?
Right.
So
It's very important. Sorry, I'm malfunctioning. Yeah, man. So I think that's also just a problem because, look, we can say it doesn't really affect us in terms of the minimum wage because I'm looking at it from a point of if someone is going to accept 2.5, which is below the minimum rate, the minimum wage, and I want to accept 3.5 because I know that the taxes that I'm going to incur or the taxes I'm going to pay, right? Then it means employers are most likely going to go for the 2.5. I mean, it only makes sense, right?
Yeah. And when you can fully live off 2.5, while me, I can't. Right. Because 3.5 is nothing because I have all these things to pay for.
To pay. Like in my
and all these deductions.
There are rates that I need to pay on that account. When Airco is a straight go. And
in an envelope.
In an envelope. You send it away to your country to rebuild and do whatever you need to do with it. And I don't have a problem with that. But I'm just saying, Guti, it's very problematic when the comparison is only but basebenza kanzima and they accept less. But are you saying that the standard needs to drop now? Are we saying the standard needs to lessen because someone accepted that standard? Right?
So that are you asking if the standard has to drop for us South Africans?
Us South Africans.
No, it doesn't have to. I think South Africa, there should be a strict policy that South Africans should be considered first for positions or for jobs as South Africa. There should be primacy. South Africans getting first preference in any job first before anyone. It doesn't matter how much the other people are willing to accept.
I think you touched on something very important. That could actually be a solution. Like whenever people are hiring, there needs to probably be a rule that says
South Africans
needs to be the first preference.
A strict policy.
There's that a BE or affirmative action thing where it said people with disabilities need to be the first to be considered for certain position, women and stuff like that.
Yeah, black people, etc.
Maybe that needs to be in legislation when we say before other people, because it does not make sense. And then I'm the last one to go to Guinea. It's like I should get first preference for all these other things because igit, right? And then whatever is left then should go to as harsh as it sounds, but that should be the Lokozan. And I don't think even South Africans don't want foreign nationals. It's just that
don't want how?
As in I truly believe with South Africans they still have the spirit of Ubuntu.
Oh, okay.
So I believe Wuti, if we were not struggling, all these issues wouldn't be. All these issues would be
problem.
Yeah, it would be like, oh, okay, well, because you also understand that there's plenty for you, so you are able to share with someone.
But again, this is on purpose. It's why is the border not fixed? It's 2024. Why is the border not closed? Why aren't there rules and regulations on migration? On documentation. You don't go when you go to Australia. They make sure that all your paperwork is sorted.
Sure.
When you go to all these other countries, paperwork is required. You take time. Here in South,
they even say you must have visa.
Apparently, the South African border, you literally just walk through. There's nothing.
Yeah,
there's a fence that's this long. It's just here. The fence is just here. Apparently, like you just walk there, like you're going there now.
There's someone at the top who's eating.
Why is and we're not closing the border because we hate people. No.
It's regulation, man.
There's rules, there's law, there's regulation. We have to follow a certain way.
Yeah, that's major disrespect.
I have to respect. I have to
respect your space.
It's your place, and people have this thing. I think people have this thing where they think no, South Africans are entitled or they're xenophobic, and also these South Africans that don't live here or don't see, or people from other countries, they just see anything and they'll automatically say no, South Africans are xenophobic and whatnot. No, come live with us and see the reasons for us to be xenophobic. Because right now, town is the dirtiest place. Who's occupying most of town?
Who's cleaning also the town?
Who's cleaning?
Who's
It's
cleaning?
exactly, and also the people who are employed in, for example, pick it up are mostly South Africans. Now we not only are we giving you a place to live, right? Now we have to clean also after you. Nah, chief, because town is super dirty. Everyone knows that town is so dirty.
And again, when people say no, but there are also South African citizens who are in other countries. I'm like, but are they undocumented?
Compare exactly, and also
because
compare
the laws are strict.
Compare,
if you were to go to
compare
Ghana,
the percentage also of how many South Africans are in those countries, and
if you were to go to Ghana, I'm pretty sure you can't just go. Even if you've traveled outside of South Africa in the African countries,
they still want your documentation.
They want your documentation. Even people from there are most likely not going to fully accept you because you are a foreigner.
Exactly, and guess what? When you get there and they see that you're South African, they assume that you have money. They're going to want to extort you. You know, again, so now you are mistreated in their countries, but when they come here, you have to be accepted and what? Even China.
And you know,
even when you go to China,
not even go to Siago,
just
Botswana, in Zim,
documentation.
There's a rule that says that you are not allowed to use a South African. If you establish in like a business, say for instance, you have a business, a multinational business, and you want to start an office in Botswana or in Zim, the rule that is set by the Minister of Finance is that you cannot use a South African bank. You can't use a South African entity. So when you get to Zimbabwe, you need to then create a bank that is in the Zimbabwe. I don't know what bank it is, but that business must operate under the Zim regulation. So no money should come out of Zim. That's the actual rule in the business. You can research it.
Is it?
If you're establishing,
but sure, they taking out like they.
If you're establishing a business that is in the Zim territory,
your money stays there.
You can't take money out using a South African bank account. When you're doing business, like you have customers, they can't pay you to your South African thing. It's a regulation. It needs to be under Zim. For instance, like there are multinational companies that operate in the Zim territory. They are not allowed to be paid.
I have to check this out.
Please do check it out. I was so shocked. And you see how regulation in those countries work. Who complies? We comply. But here, the businesses that are established, they are
flourishing.
They're logistic businesses,
flourishing business
here, where payment needs to be in dollars. Not even just black businesses, like foreign businesses, where
Chinese,
in Sweden or in Poland, there are businesses that have their offices here, where they would charge. The price would be charged in dollars. So the service that you're offering, if you say I'm charging you 500,000, they would convert it in US dollars and say, look, I want maybe 250 or 180 US dollars, and then you convert it. You still need to then pay tax, right? Again,
and banking charges on top of that. Banking
charges as well, because obviously when you're transferring, it's not just you're not transferring from Capitec to ABSA. Even when you do transfer from Capital to ABSA, it doesn't go through on the same day, right? So there are still processes because they'll ask you, so you need to also account for it. So in the South African corporate or in the business spaces understand the value of legislation and regulation insofar
in other countries.
In other countries, and they comply.
But when we do that, there's a problem, you know. So now, what do you think would be the best way to counter this? Like, aside from documentation, do you think we should set up refugee camps?
Look,
for people who are coming from countries that are really struggling, because this thing of people just entering South Africa and there's nothing, and every year the population is increasing, like the foreign population. And I'm not going to talk about a specific race or specific group of people, but foreign nationals, because like South Africa manje, as you were saying, kuyazenzelwa manje. The gates is broken, it's open, and
the gate is not broken. The gate is, there's no gate.
There's no gate, basically.
The wall that's the actually is E5. Look, for me, Ngobi, I don't even care how. Obviously, I want our foreigners to have space in South Africa. And you said outside of documentation. No, there's no outside of documentation, because when you are going out, they need documentation from you.
So documentation
is of paramount importance when it comes.
So what do we do with the ones who are here in South Africa that have been living here undocumented? What happens to them?
Then the South African government needs to then create,
round them up.
Yeah, not round you. Why you want me to get cancelled? The South African government needs to make a plan in terms of, out of their own budget, they need to make spaces where they can take care of them, right? And that includes Chinese, that includes Pakistani.
Don't you think they so are you saying they should just document them?
Document them, because the biggest thing now is there's crime. There are criminals that
cannot be tracked,
right? Because the whole reason for university to have your identity is so that we know that it links to you.
Yeah.
So when you're committing
where are you? What
fraud,
are you doing?
when you're committing perjury, when you're committing whatever crime that you're committing, we're able to trace you.
Yeah.
We are able to say, look, are you paying your taxes? Are you contributing to the economy? Are you? And I know I say taxes a lot. We should actually have a drinking game where every time I say rates and taxes, you take a shot.
You'd get drunk.
But I'm saying documentation is very important, because then it keeps you accountable. All these drug lords here would not have spaces if they were documented, because we would know who and who has offenses, who and who paid who for what. Because the first thing we ask is ubani kama Wagophi.
Yeah.
But what is your business? What is your business? Because those are the questions that they ask when you apply for like a permit, work permit. They ask you what are the reasons for you to be here, and you say it's work purposes. Like, how long are you going to stay
to be here?
Then
what
your
type of
permit
visa
expires.
do you have, etc. Yeah.
Your permit expires, and then from that, when it expires, you go and renew. If you don't renew, then you go. It's an efficient way to keep track on who comes here, and legally, because it's fair. It's quite fair. Ubani ofuna ukuthi avakashele umuntu ozohlala 10 years, ozohlala isikhathi esingasazi. Like wena kini ungavuma ukuthi kuze umalume ongamazi afika athi
uzofika loyo malume, and then eventually some accept. That's what has happened.
Yeah.
Ufikile loyo malume loyo.
No, but malume don't overstay your welcome.
Eventually umalume uhlale isikhathi eside. Sesi acceptile ukuthi ubloma yi. It's been so long since
the plan? Okay, malume awufuna ukama, but malume, what's the plan?
umalume uzovula istall, avula ispaza, athengisa ama drug.
Malume
ayenza havoc.
Yeah. So what would be your solution?
So I think, to be honest, I think there has to be a rigorous process where there's a building to building what do you call this? A building to building sweep, or house to house sweep of these people. Okay, let me not say our brothers. Let me not say these people.
And not even just our brothers,
yeah,
because
it counts. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm going to say. Even white, even like Caucasians, but
or foreign.
There's so many illegal immigrants of white people. You'd be shocked.
Is it?
You'd be so Ngobi. So
how
shocked.
should we set them apart? Because with us, it's so easy. You can just tell the by the accent what's that ubafo. At the moment that is smiling, you just know.
There's also a mentality that black people have where white people aren't immigrants. And for me, that is very problematic because they are the ones who are committing the biggest crimes of all. Like all the crimes that are like fraud, extortion, which economically, like
it's far from us. That's why it's so difficult for us to fathom, because it's so far. With our other brothers, they're so near. I'll keep on saying that because they're bala. You can tell you interact with them on the date. Basse texting, basse konin, basse spaza. You know, so it's easy for you to kind of identify them.
Yeah.
The white people that you're talking about, what's their like population? Like how many are they? What's their percentage?
I'd make an example compared to Chinese.
To our Chinese are quite a lot, chief.
Yeah.
Chinese. Even
Chinese, do you know Chinese are part of the BE structure?
Now they've included them.
Yeah.
So, but they're not black though. Like Chinese, it says everything.
Like for me, it's the biggest. No, cousin. Like Minister of Home Affairs just try like grand. Like we try like grand. I don't know who. The last time I checked, it was. I don't know.
Elias,
but anyway, yeah.
Was it Elias?
I don't know. It wasn't Elias. I know his name, but I just. But anyway, the thing is, for me, it's like whenever people speak about foreigners, the go-to people are black people. Are always black people, and I do understand the fact that they are the people that are accessible to us, right? But I'm just like, what about people who are ripping us off financially or economically? Like, look, for me, it's a huge deal for me. Like, no one talks about why am I China gonna pay tax, dog. We should actually have a drinking game where every time I say tax, we take a shot, because it bothers me so much.
You're so obsessed with tax, bro. It's they really don't pay it like that. Like
when I'm more patala, if it's a shining patala, do you pay with? Do you send the account? There's the account number up. How do they collect money? How do you? Maybe someone must do a study in terms of like how Chinese pay their tax, or
like
how
everyone.
Pakistan
I think every foreign national who owns a business in South Africa, and I'm mostly informal, not like formal. Like
are the business registered? Also, bigger. But I say IPC.
Do they even know what that is?
Do they have
text number? Text number?
I don't know. Maybe that's where we need to start.
But how do they have all these again? Because they're not documented.
So do foreign nationals do they like account? Do they come and open like accounts?
What
Please, just maybe tell us.
Yeah. Now, I've never seen foreign nationals in store coming to. They never.
Do they pay cash? What do they do?
Yeah.
Cash. It's always cash.
Always cash. Always cash.
They don't have like documents that they.
Well, some of them do have
like passports and stuff. Do they open accounts? I think that's the question that we.
Yeah.
They can't open accounts.
They can't.
Yeah.
But they have money.
Yeah, but they do have cash most of the time.
So when they open accounts, and this is very important. So when they open accounts, are these they can't open accounts? That's what you're saying, right?
No, well, they can. There is a process, but they're always using cash. They prefer to use cash more than opening accounts. That's what they prefer. But most of them who do have the passports, they sometimes do open accounts. There is a process whereby you can fill in a form and then send it to customer service, and then they get approved if they do have like good credit. Understand?
Also credit. They're not being checked for credit. But it's
a big deal for me. That's why I'm saying someone must do a study. Someone must.
Who has the time?
Who has the time? Who has the time to do a study? Why are we not bothered by this? Like
we are. Again, I'm going to the quote that I started with.
Or they're not. They remote from us. It's because they're not accessible to us.
Exactly, and also, unspoken expectation lead to premeditated resentments. We're not having the convo. We're not talking about this enough for us to solve this problem. You know, I think we should tell the government exactly what we expect from the government and from also the all the foreign nationals. I'm just going to try and stay away from, because I'm learning that it's not just our African brothers. There's so many from other countries, from Asia especially.
Yeah.
Amandia from India and Pakistan. Is Pakistan in the Middle East? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You see, and Sri Lanka. Like so many. There's so many of them. You know. And now we've kind of accepted them because obviously Ubuntu, but at our own detriment. You know.
Yeah.
And I think we should also have we have to have a topic of talking about freedom. I think we have to talk about how freedom is detrimental. I think law and rule is required for us as South Africa to move forward. Because without law and rule, abantu bazofika la ekhaya bazenzele. Here in South Africa, I think we have to have an honest conversation about how has freedom benefited South Africa.
Yeah, immigration laws. Because I mean, when you talk about law, I'm thinking immigration laws. And what does it
even
mean?
For everyone?
Yeah.
Just outside of like immigration, but there has to be rule and law. God, the moment we lose rules and laws and principles and everything as a country, there will be deterioration. People will come to this country, at every level, in every race, because there's no rules, there's no law, there's no regulation. You know.
So in closing, man.
Yeah. In closing, that's what I want to say. I think we need law. I think we need rules. We need regulation for everyone, regardless of your nationality. And also, there are countries where there's war right now. I think we do need refugee camps, you know, so that you are put in the system properly. You know, and there are countries that like there's real struggle. People are hungry. The politicians are making all the money, but people are struggling. You know, so. Again, I think we need I think we need systems for people to enter South Africa. You know, we can't just have Gate El Moshagele, El Nate E5 and just people walking through.
Yeah.
We need to close the border. We need to have systems to accept people in South Africa. There's nothing wrong, you know. And they do they line me up, man. Like they do a pretty job at lining me up. I don't have a problem. You know,
saying
our African brothers line me up properly, bro. You know, and our African brothers provide me with fruits for my supplements and stuff. I love these guys, man. They're my brothers, you know. And
is the love same for the the Caucasians or foreign?
I don't care about those ones.
Guys, in that note,
what's your closing? What's your closing statement?
My closing statement: document everything, man. I think documentation keeps you accountable, keeps you. There's openness. There's that room to say, look, you are not doing well, and there are penalties that needs to be imposed. So if you're not documented, we don't know who you are. We don't know what you're doing. Again, and that's why I'm saying permits are very important, because we know that the nature of the business that you are establishing in South Africa. We know why you are here, how long you're here for, and what is it that we need to do if you overstay your welcome, right? So that is it for me.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous.
Because there's so many things. Obviously, this not having all these system attributes to the crime, to everything, the drugs, crime, the increased rates of rape, etc.
It's quite
a lot. So there's a lot, you know. So we truly need systems and processes and law and rule in place.
Yeah, man. I think also the conversation to you guys who are tuning in, who are watching us on YouTube, Instagram, on TikTok. We want you guys to give us your opinions and to also just to give you a platform to also contribute to this topic, to give us your views. Guys, we don't know a lot. We're just here to start a conversation, hoping that it inspires you guys to also have a conversation.
Also think.
So we're also going to go, you know, out there on the streets and just get a lot of the public's view on what we're talking about. Yeah, man. I think all in all, man, it was Very interesting topic. I was scared. I was scared for my life because I was like, yo.
Yeah, to be honest, there's so many things that we didn't touch on, but we can't discuss the limits. Yeah, we could go on the whole day about this topic, but yeah, man, I think.
Sabona Phithujana.
Hayi number one mfethu.
Ngiyabonga mfethu sabonga ukuthi uze usijoyine nathi namhlanje. Noma nje sikhuluma ngetopic ethe kuba bukhaya kancane.
Okay.
So the topic here today is are foreign nationals occupying spaces that are meant for South African citizens and the impact that has on the economy in South Africa. So what are your views?
Okay, masikhuluma nga-foreign nationals, sikhuluma everyone, including ama-Pakistan and everyone.
Sure.
Sure. Maybe we can tackle maybe islands izinto ezithu ama-advantages nama-disadvantages.
Sure.
So that maybe sikwazi ukuthi silentuze. Number one, advantages are some of these foreign nationals, mabafika la, they have skills that we do not have.
So
that we need as abantu basemzansi. So that's an advantage on my side. So two, ama-disadvantages ke maningi. Number one, foreign nationals, most of them that I know, are not documented. So if they are not documented, if they commit any crime like us or bayenze izinto ezi wrong, you cannot trace it back to them. Because abangenanga ngokomthetho la elethu e-country. Two, bheka nje ama-shop lawa ama-Pakistan around. Khona manje, just for an example, kuceda kuvula isiphaza la ekhoneni. This guy olaphaya uthengisa i-Red Bull lenkulu, dala ithengisa nge-30 rand. Uyafika loya. Abafowabo ngale bayithengisa nge-35 rand. So khona manje, because sekala ubona i-competition, uyayehlisa seku-29 rand. Noma uphethe 28 rand iyakunika. So now, mina, i-negative side of it is that khona manje awukwazi ukulentuza. Abantu basekhaya abasakwazi ukumisa ama-business. Because bona bane-support eningi, bazo-set i-price, bayehlise, mase uvalile then bakhuphula ama-prices. You understand anything you show? So that's another negative side of it. And another thing, mhlambe masingathi i-negative side of it is that most of them, they are drug lords. You understand? I know a few like us about drug lords. And manje, they are not even documented.
Asikwazi nokuthi sibabophe.
Asikwazi nokuthi sibabophe. You understand? And enye into basebenza namaphoyisa. You understand? And thina like us, uzobheka ne. For an example, I'm selling gas here. Alikho iphepha lala ngimali. You understand? Because ngike ngathi ngiyazama before kuthengisa bafika bazofuna amaphepha and everything. But how many foreign nationals? Umuntu afike nje aplug into yakhe athungu. Afika plug into yakhe athengisa ama-veg. Lawo ama-veg lawo sazelapha ukuthi i-grade bar le. Whether it's grade A, grade B, grade C, we understand leyo nto le. So ileyo nto le engisho ukuthi they can do anything they wanna do. You know why? Because they are able to bribe. Thina sinalento yokuthi sisekhasilate, we cannot bribe. So manje into eyenzakalayo la ikhasi ibuhlungu ngalokho ukuthi ikhasi lethu selaphenduka ikhasi labanye abantu just because baba able ukuthi baba bribe. Angithi vele bazoba bribe because bayasaba kusukise mabuya. You understand? And lastly, besenze research with other guy. I won't say the name, but we were making a research. Labantu lava, they are able, Pakistan, they are able to send more than 20,000 rands every month a year. You understand? Imali ngatekswanga. Imali elentuza rotator kubo kuphela. Ayisi nakithi. You understand lento engisho? And another thing abayenzayo, noma ngathi ama-shop lawa ama-Pakistan agcwele, I'm sure it's only 1% where you will find a South African iqhashiwe khona lapha. These people, they are not creating employment, but they are just killing the businesses as they are around ekhasi.
Sure.
Yeah, and I saw that point. Abazokwazi ukuthi badlondlobale. Okay, yeah, it's
Yo, but your points are valid. So thank you so much for your time and the contribution, Yako, because so thank you so much for usnikeza my views, Ako, and we really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah. Sure. Sawubona Phuthuja.
Ngiyaphila njani wena mfethu?
Ngiyaphila mfethu.
Danke.
La besidinga idaba mfethu olunye udaba oluqhayi kakhulu.
Sure.
Regarding foreign nationals.
Yes.
So kade sikudiscussa ukuthi impact yama foreign nationals kwi-economy yethu yase South Africa. Ngikubona nje kukhona my friend kukhona nama China.
Sure.
Kukhona nabangani bethu laba abathengisayo la emgaqweni abangalenzazi.
Sure.
Mhlambe umbono wakho ngathini ngalokho? What are your views?
The main problem ngale nto le ibuhlungana because of kuba sengathi abantu sibazona whereas sifilwe government.
Sure.
The government is failing us ngale ndlela leyo ukuthi number one kungiphatha kabi ukubiza le gama lale party more especially ukuthi ANC because of they know very well ukuthi babazoba khona labantu bazobanika ama-IDs. Obvious they'll vote by-ID number ukuthi baloko bawina ama-votes whereas they're doing nothing for us. There was a time ngizwa kwenye video these guys but these people balana bazo improve bazokhuphula abantu basekhaya bafundisa imisebenzi yezandla nani. But if you might check around, if you go around uma uyacheck ngeke uthole la kusebenza khona iforeigner kunomuntu wala.
Yeah.
La kezwa khona amagedi bobodwa. La bakunda khona yibo bodwa. Uyangithola? Babantu abamnyama njengathi.
Yeah.
Anginankinga nola ngomthetho. But nginenkinga nalo ola ngokungekho emthethweni bese jika futhi azothola imisebenzi. Now if you might take a look, it takes industry etshela izola 80% now kusebabantu bama-foreigner. Uthola ukuthi manje itaxini seningena seni overload. Kuhlanganisa nabantu phakathi etaxini, understand? Ngibona i-government ethi isifeyila ngale ndlela lokuthi ayisukumi ayenzi lutho ngaloko. So ngingazi ukuthi mhlambe sekumele vele sika-understand sika-accept lokho. But ngibhlungu ngento one ngoba baningi abafuthi abahleli banganemisebenzi. Go to Facebook. eFortsburg 90% abantu abasebenza lapha abantu abama-foreigners.
Sure.
And I'm sure 100% ukuthi abanayo even ama-IDs.
Yeah.
But they are still getting hired because of abonoma yini.
Yeah.
When as South African uyazi ukuthi impilo yala ithinjani. Ufika lapha yana bak-offera 3,000 then you will be like how about 3.5 or 4,000 rand. Then babona ukuthi inkinga kufike loyo foreigners ukuthi 1.5 right.
Sure.
Bazothatha bachashe yena.
Yeah.
So obviously into yasikhawaza thina sakwazi senampilo sifana nezivakashi ecountry ethu.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey. Ayi wayeshaya bhuti wayeshaya.
Sure.
Mhlambe cause angithi nama foreign nationals kuyenzeka ukuthi ngoba sifuna ukuthi si exclude abantu kuyenzeka nama China futhi ukuthi
Yes.
abe khona na i-China mall ikhona exister.
Sure.
Ama China awanawo ama-ID awanawo ama bank account.
Sure.
Do you still share the same sentiments ukuthi nabo abaveze ama-IDs abo?
Sure. Yeah, like now for instance angikhumbuli ngisela nini yasebhank or yase-shopping for le mvo kwe-China.
Yeah.
Angazi ngaba emvo kwe-China. And what I've noticed, I'm sorry uNkulunkulu angixolele, but those people they so damn racist.
Sure.
Yeah, ba-racist labo bantu labo because unokubona nabantu mabo ngidlula eshop abasebenza kuyo umuntu omnyama lo abasebenza khona abanayi.
Sure.
Yeah, man of approach abanayo egrand ne-care. So ngiyazibuza ukuthi i-country ethu isifeyila kanjani ngabantu abafana nalabo. Now for instead kune-mall engathi yakhiwa lana baceda ukuhambisa but angazi how many Chinese abebala ngapha ngokungekho emthethweni but bakwazile ukungena and ungacabanga ukuthi abaphezulu abakwazi konke lokho. But kubuhlungu ngento one because of bona kukhona abakutholayo ngakho konke lokho. For instance ama-Pakistan singabablame labantu lamajita awekho la mahala. Definitely sure kukhona lokhu i-government ekutholayo from ikazi lamajita. I understand because mawatshi uyabheka hamba around iy'phazo ozozithola la ezabantu la imndeni shopopo zi-less than 10.
Sure.
But 200 yonke ilabantu bokuhamba.
Sure.
Whereas siyabona bayasivezela emavidiyweni ukuthi abantu laba bayizani bathi nakho layina late kushona abantwana badla ukudla kwangaphandle.
Sure.
Badla ukudla kwabo ama-cheese nani bashona abantwana. But then i-government azange isukume yenzani ngoba ngazi ukuthi bayasuzwa ngayo sekuthulile futhi. So obviously i-government I think seyidlile sokunzima for yona ukuthi isukume ithathe ukuthi isukumele yonke le nyakanyaka yenzakala kasi. Sure.
Yo, siyabonga bhuti.
Bonga mina Thiyama.
Siyabonga.